So nice of you to join us. How long till you fall asleep this time? I give it a minute. Actually, no, I'll edge my bets. 30 seconds until you lie down and fall asleep. Should we test it? On your marks, get set, go. So the mill at Sony Alpha Rumors has been working overtime. Put a post out the other day entitled Wild Rumors Roundup, and it was summarising many different rumours that they've got from various different sources. Now, some of these rumours, I'm not going to say they sound far-fetched, but I don't think they're things that we're going to see anytime soon. Some of them, I think we will see quite shortly, and one of them, I think, is big potential news. So there's a 100mm GM being speculated, which, if memory serves me right, this is meant to be a 100mm f1.4. Entirely possible. There's already 105 f1.4s on the market. Nikon do one, granted it's for DSLRs. Sigma do one, which again is meant to be for DSLRs, but they've modified it to be able to work on the Sony E-mount. So 100mm f1.4 is entirely feasible on the E-mount system, so no reason why we couldn't see a 100mm GM lens. High-end APS-C camera, we covered this in a video the other day, what's speculated to be the A6700. A7S4, slow you roll. They made us wait 5 years between the A7S2 to the S3. Now the Mark III's been out barely 5 months, and there's already talk of a replacement for it. However, the big one for me, the prospect of an A9 III. Not so much the prospect of an A9 III, because there's bound to be an A9 III. The A9 II was released just over 2 years ago, so it's probably due an update anyway. I don't think Sony will kill off the A9 line now that they've brought out the A1. I still think they're targeted at different areas of the market. So no doubt we'll see an A9 III at some point, and in theory one is due sometime soon. The bigger news, however, is all of these rumours are cited from 7 different sources. Now, one of the sources mentions the A7S4 and also potentially an A7R5. One of them mentions a high-end APS-C camera, and one of them mentions the 100mm G Master lens. The other 4 all talk about the A9 III. And while they all leak different potential specs and hardware setups for the camera, they're all unanimous in one aspect, that this camera will have no mechanical shutter. So that would mean the camera's reliant entirely on electronic shutter, which sort of makes sense anyway. I mean, the A9 and the A9 II both have mechanical shutters, but you can't get anywhere close to the camera's maximum shooting speed using the mechanical shutter because it's physically just not quick enough. If you want to get the full 20 frames a second out the current A9s, you have to use electronic shutter anyway. Where the mechanical shutter currently comes into play with those cameras is that while the readout speeds are pretty damn quick, they're not instant. So there is still the potential that under artificial light you can get banding. There's still the potential of rolling shutter because of the delay between the sensor starting to read and finishing to read. Things can move within the scene. So the longer the readout speed of the camera, the worse the rolling shutter would be. So while the A9s are pretty quick, they're not completely impervious, so hence a mechanical shutter is still needed. Now, everyone's waiting for the day that a global shutter becomes mainstream, because with a global shutter, all of the pixels on the sensor get read at once. So it doesn't matter if anything's moving, because it's just that one moment in time completely captured. And by the sounds of it, this A9 III, if it is going to be what's being rumoured, isn't quite a global shutter. They reckon it will have around a 2 millisecond readout speed, which is still pretty damn quick. And in reality, a mechanical shutter is not instant anyway. There's still a minor delay from it starting to move to it completely covering the sensor. So if they've now got a sensor that can read out electronically as fast as a mechanical shutter can move, then that then means that there is no real advantage to a mechanical shutter versus an electronic. And if that's the case, then removing the mechanical shutter makes perfect sense. I think we all knew this day would come eventually, just nobody knew when it would be. But the moment electronic readout speeds were able to match mechanical shutters become pointless. And it's more parts, more weight, more cost to be put into the camera, which is something that three of the four sources state that by removing the mechanical shutter, they claim the camera's weight will drop to below that of the A7C. Now, personally, I think that might be ambitious. Unless they've done some other weight savings to that camera. The A7 II weighs 678 grams, while the A7C weighs 509. So you're looking 170 grams different between those two cameras. And I don't think a mechanical shutter unit weighs 170 grams. I'm not saying it wouldn't shed some weight from the camera, but to shed 170 grams off the A9 II is dropping 25% of the total camera weight. And when you consider in that A9 II weight, you've not only got the mechanical shutter unit, but you've also got the sensor itself, the IBIS mechanics, the system that it sits on to move it all around. You've got the main circuit board with all the processors on it. You've got the memory card slots. You've got the viewfinder on the top. You've got the entire magnesium alloy shell and the outer skin that surrounds it. I don't think a mechanical shutter unit makes up a quarter of the weight of an A9 II. See, but in reality, I don't think that makes that much of a difference. I don't imagine many people have picked up an A9 II and thought, Jesus, this is far too heavy. Can you make it a little bit lighter, please? Hell, most of the complaints for the A9s that I've seen are the opposite, and people say it's too small and too light and they want it to be bigger and heavier. So I genuinely think not only will we see an A9 III in the next 12 months, but I do think that we will see it without a mechanical shutter. Firstly, for the fact that 4 different sources all say the same thing. Obviously, it's possible that just one person's made the claim, a couple of other people have seen the claim and have decided to parrot it off as their own information as well. But I'm not so sure. To have 4 people all saying different specs and different pieces of information about the camera, but all be united in that one spec of no mechanical shutter, to me just adds that little bit more validity to the argument, saying that it is more likely that we will see it. That and the fact, like I said, it was always going to be on the cards. I think realistically, of all of the sensor manufacturers on the market, Sony were the ones that were going to likely be first to bring out a sensor that could read fast enough to warrant not having a mechanical shutter. The rest of the specs that are being suggested in the A9 III, like I said, they're all saying different things. One of them saying it will have a flash sync speed of a 500th of a second, which again is entirely possible given if the read speed of the sensor is so fast, then that will allow for a faster flash sync speed. One of them stating it will be able to shoot up to 30 frames a second, but if you shoot 20 frames a second, you can get raw files shooting continuously to the card until the card fills up, so no buffer limitations. And they also state that the resolution will be around 24 megapixels, which is what the A9s currently are and makes perfect sense. If the camera's able to shoot 30 frames a second, then it seems a bit stupid to up the resolution, because then that would basically just put it straight into the firing line of the A1 that they've only just released. And seems just as unlikely that they would drop the resolution to lower than what the A9s currently are. But who knows, time will tell. For me, it definitely seems like you can tell it's the end of the video now, can't you? Okay, give me a minute. So, which of these rumours are you most excited by, and which one are you hoping to see most? Leave your thoughts and comments in the box down below. While you're down there, if you haven't already, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and then hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Come on then. Can you not move? Do you want me to get up there with you? Honestly, the things I do for this dog.